This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. Today I'm making cinnamon roll biscuits. Well, who doesn't love a cinnamon roll for breakfast? But it can be a little time consuming if you're making it from a yeast dough. Well, what I did is use the same idea but made it from a biscuit dough. My family really liked them. I bet yours will too. We're going to make these biscuits in a large mixing bowl. So we're going to start by measuring out 2 cups of flour. And then to the flour, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a half a teaspoon of salt. Then I'm going to use my little whisk, and I'm going to whisk those ingredients together real well. Now for our liquid, I'm going to use a combination of heavy cream and milk. And the reason I'm using heavy cream is because it's going to provide the fat that we need in these biscuits. So I'm going to measure out a half a cup of heavy cream, and I'm going to add that into my dry ingredients. Then I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk. And I'm going to use my spatula and mix those ingredients together. Now once this comes together in a thick dough, I'm going to take some flour and sprinkle a generous amount of it on my board here. And I'm going to take the dough and put it right in the center. Now I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more flour on top, and then I'm going to kind of just pull this together and knead it just for a couple of seconds. You can see this dough comes together really nicely. It's nice and soft and smooth. And now I'm going to use my hand, and I'm just going to press this out into a rectangle about 9 by 12. Now you can see, you can just use your fingertips if you want, but I use actually the heel of my hand to really press this out. Now you could also use a rolling pin if you like, but sometimes I find this is to be just as easy. I use my hands to kind of get the sides somewhat shaped up, and then if I measure this, it's about 12 by 9. Now on the surface of the dough, I have melted a tablespoon of butter, and I'm just going to use my brush here, and I'm going to brush that all over the top. And now in a small bowl, I've added 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And I'm going to mix that together real well. And I want to make sure that I get most of those brown sugar lumps out if I can. Then I'm just going to take and sprinkle that mixture all over the top of our biscuit dough. Now I'm going to start with the edge closest to me, and I'm going to roll this up just like I were making some cinnamon rolls. And you can see this dough is really easy to work with. And when I get to the end here, I'm going to kind of pinch that seam together like this. And then I'm going to put the seam down on the board. And I kind of want to use my hands to make sure that this roll is about the same thickness all the way across. Now we're going to cut this into 8 pieces. Now I'm using one of these bench scrapers, but you could certainly use a knife if you'd like. And the way I find it's easiest to cut things like this is first start by cutting it in half. And then I need to get 4 out of here and 4 out of here. So I'll cut this one in half again, and each half in half. I just find that that makes it where you get the things to be a little bit more even in size. Now I'm going to take each of the biscuits and I'm going to turn them up on end like this. Now for cinnamon rolls, we would just leave these tall, but because these are biscuits, we want to flatten them. So I'm just going to use my hands and press those out. And you want to try to get them about the same thickness. That way they'll bake fairly evenly. Now to bake these off, I have my baking sheet. I'm going to put a piece of parchment and I'm just going to place my biscuits right on top. Now I've preheated my oven to 425 degrees and I'm going to pop these in and let them bake for about 20 minutes. I want them to be nice and golden brown. Now I want to put a quick little vanilla glaze on top of these biscuits. So in a small bowl I have a tablespoon of butter. I'm going to melt that in the microwave. Then to my melted butter I'm going to add a half a cup of powdered sugar, about a tablespoon of milk, and just a little splash of vanilla. And then I'm going to use my spoon and mix that all together. Now as you're stirring this, use the back of your spoon to press out any of those powdered sugar lumps that you may find. We want this to be as smooth as we can get it. Well, these look so great. I want to get them immediately off the baking sheet though. So I'm going to slide them right off. And you can see how golden brown they got. That's just what we want. Now while these are still hot, I'm just going to take my little spatula and I'm going to glaze the tops of these. And if you do this while they're still hot like this, the glaze kind of melts. Ooh, they're so good. Well, if you'd like to try these cinnamon roll biscuits at home, just go to our website and visit the Daily Bread show notes and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.